Welcome back to Select Basics Part 3. Now in Part 2 I left you with a couple of challenges. A simple one, which was to return all the records with the city Cambridge, and the harder challenge, which was to return all the records that either have the city London or Cambridge. So let's quickly switch to SQL Server Management Studio and figure out what the answers are. Here we are in SQL Server Management Studio, and in the last episode what we did is we returned all the records that are not belonging to the city London. I gave you a couple of challenges. One of those was to return all the records for Cambridge, and another one was to return all the records for London and Cambridge. We needed to change the less than and greater than symbol to an equals, and we needed to change London to Cambridge. So let's run this now, and there we go, 33 records. So that was the answer to the first challenge. Now the second challenge was about returning all the records for Cambridge and London. So how we did this is we actually changed the equals to in, or in. Now for in to actually work, you can see that we've got red squiggles. Now the reason we've got red squiggles is because in requires brackets. So we can run this and we will return 33 records again. The benefit of in is it allows you to use more filters. So what we can do here is write London. Now if we run this, we will get all the records that have the city London and all the records that have the city Cambridge. Now if you got 467 records, that's great, and if you manage to find the keyword in and the use of brackets, then really well done. Now I did mention that there is going to be a learning curve as part of this one, because what we're going to do is we're going to build on group by, having and order by, because what I want this to be is I want it to be quite a steep learning curve and actually get onto some of the really important data engineering topics within SQL. So what we're going to do is we are going to change this asterisk, and what we're going to do is we're going to use count. So what you'll see is that we've got 467 records where the city is in Cambridge and London. So what we should return is we should return 467, and this should be just a number. We won't get Downshire Way or Cambridge, we won't get state province ID, postal code, we won't get spatial location. All we will get is the number of records. So if we run this now, here we go, 467 records. Now without looking at the query, so I know that this is 467 records for those that have a city or their address is in the city Cambridge and London. So what we can do is to make this more explanatory, so provide more detail, what we can do is we can use as count of addresses. Okay, and we can run this again. So we've got count of addresses and it's 467. So you see what I've added there is something that provides more detail, and when you look at this tabular output you can see that it's count of addresses. So I know that there's 467 count of addresses, but actually if I ignore that and I can't see Cambridge or London, it's not meaningful. So what I need to do is I need to add more detail, and what I can do there is I can add city. Okay, now if I run this it's going to fail. Okay, now the error, and this is really important, so person.address.city is invalid in the select list because it is not contained in either an aggregate function or the group by clause. And if we look at step 3, we can see that we've got this group by. So what we need to do is, for this to work, we need to add group by. So what this is basically saying is, I want you to count all the addresses and I want you to group those addresses by city. So if we add city, if we run this now, 33 for Cambridge, 434 for London. What we've managed to do is we've managed to make it more meaningful. We've got count of addresses, we've also got city. So what we can do is we can comment out where city in Cambridge, London. And let's just have a look at the records. Okay, we've got 575 rows, but they are in no particular order. So what we can do is we can put those in a particular order. Okay. Now, for an order by clause, this is number 6. What we can do is we can actually use the alias. We don't have to use the count all. We can use that, and we can run it like that. But also, what we can do with an order by, you can actually use the alias, okay, and return all those records. Now, by default, order by is in ascending order. So what we can do, if we want to see the most records at the top, what we can do is we can add DESC for descending. Okay, so what we can do as well is, let's say that we want all the addresses where there are more than 10 addresses in a city. So we want everything above Miami, Duval. Okay, so what we can do is we can use having. And what we can do is put in having. And then what we can do is use count all. And then use the greater than. And what we want is anything greater than 10. So what we should have at the bottom there, we should have from Chicago, so we should have 234 records. We should have from Chicago right up to London. So let's run this. And we do have 234 records, and we have Chicago at the bottom. So if we put this back in, what will happen? Because Cambridge has more than 10 addresses, we still return Cambridge and London. If we were to change that to 33, we only end up with London. So what I would advise you to do is comment out where city in Cambridge, London, keep this as 10, and have a play around. Have a play around with the greater than, have a play around with the equals, and what we'll do in the next episode, we will actually store this for use. We will store this and create a view, because that might be one of the things that you are asked to do as a data engineer. You might be asked by the business, look, I would like you to create a view, and all a view is a way of persisting this for future usage. So when somebody comes along and says, I would like you to provide me with the number of addresses based on each city. So thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Have a play around with all these SQL processes, and I will see you in the next episode where we will actually create our first object, which is a view.